Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to English with Billy. I'm Billy, your host and friend on this journey through learning English and exploring the world around us. Today, we're going to talk about something a bit more complex and maybe a little controversial. So get comfortable, make yourself some tea or coffee, and let's settle in for a long, thoughtful conversation. This episode might be challenging, but don't worry. I'll try to keep the language as clear and friendly as possible. Think of it as listening to a friend who is explaining something complicated, step by step. Today's topic is the rise of Donald Trump. We're going to talk about who he is, where he came from, why he became the President of the United States back in 2016, and what personal and global factors helped him win that election. We'll also talk about what some people love about him and what some people really dislike. We'll look at how he speaks, why some people believe he often lies, or at least bends the truth, and how he tries to present reality in a way that benefits him. Now, I want to note something important. This is a complex topic. Donald Trump is a figure who created strong emotions in people. Some people admire him deeply. They believe he is strong, confident, and successful. Others dislike him very much. They say he is dishonest, dangerous, and not good for America or the world. In this podcast, I'm going to try to be fair. I will explain different opinions. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I just want to help you understand the different sides and why people feel the way they do. So let's start with some basic background on Donald Trump. This might take a while, but remember, we have plenty of time, so we can go slowly and carefully. Donald Trump was born in 1946 in New York City. His father, Fred Trump, was a wealthy real estate developer. That means his father built and owned many buildings, mostly apartments, in New York. This gave Donald Trump a start in life that was different from many Americans. He grew up with money, connections, and opportunities. He went to good schools and entered his father's business at a young age. As a young man, Donald Trump learned the real estate business. He became known in New York for big projects like luxury buildings, hotels, and casinos. Over the years, his image became more than just that of a businessman. He created a personal brand. A brand is like a reputation or an image that people recognize. Trump's brand was about being bold, rich, and larger than life. He put his name on buildings. He appeared in magazines. He was on television shows. He understood that media attention gave him power. But was he really successful? This depends on how we define success. Trump inherited money and a network from his father. He built flashy buildings and made famous deals. He became a public figure well known for his luxury lifestyle. But in the business world, some argue he had mixed results. He had successes, but he also had failures, including bankruptcies, when a business cannot pay its debts and needs special legal help. Critics say he often exaggerated his success. Supporters say he learned from failures and stayed resilient. Resilience means not giving up even after problems. Before he became president, Trump was already known by most Americans. In the 1980s and 1990s, he was often in the news. He was seen as a symbol of wealth and power. But what really brought him to a new level of fame was his television show, The Apprentice. On this show, he played the role of a tough boss, judging business contestants and saying his famous phrase, "You're fired." The show was popular. It gave people the idea that Trump was a smart businessman and a strong leader, even if this was a carefully produced TV image. Many viewers did not know which parts were real and which were just for entertainment. Trump was not always a politician. Before he ran for president, he talked about politics publicly, but he was not deeply involved as a politician. He sometimes gave money to both Democrats and Republicans. He said things that suggested he had various political opinions over the years, not always very consistent. Around 2011, he became more politically vocal by questioning the birthplace of President Barack Obama. He pushed the idea that Obama might not have been born in the U.S., even though that was not true. This was called the birther movement. Many people saw this as a racist or dishonest tactic. It got Trump a lot of attention from some Americans who disliked Obama. Others saw it as a cruel strategy that spread lies. In June 2015, Donald Trump came down an escalator in Trump Tower in New York City and announced he would run for president as a Republican. Many people did not take him seriously at first. They thought he was just doing it for attention. They said he did not have the political experience or the serious plans to become president. But he did something surprising. He spoke in a simple, direct way. He used strong, emotional language. He talked about illegal immigration, Islamic terrorism, and trade deals with other countries. He said that traditional politicians were weak, stupid, or corrupt. He told Americans he would make America great again, which became his famous slogan. Trump's way of speaking was different from most politicians. He spoke like an everyday person in some ways, not like a polished expert. He repeated certain words many times. He attacked his opponents with insults. He made big promises, like building a wall between the U.S. and Mexico to stop illegal immigration, or bringing back manufacturing jobs that had disappeared. He told people who felt angry or left behind that he understood them. Many Americans, especially in parts of the country that suffered job losses and economic problems, felt that Trump was talking directly to them. They felt the establishment in Washington, those traditional politicians, did not care about them. Trump's message was powerful to these voters. At the same time, other Americans were shocked and upset. They felt Trump was spreading hate, lying about statistics, and talking about complex problems in a very simplistic and sometimes dishonest way. They said he had no real plans, just slogans. They worried about his respect for women, minorities, immigrants, and people with disabilities. The media reported on these issues nonstop, and this gave Trump even more attention, which sometimes helped him. The more his critics shouted, the more his supporters felt they had found a rebel fighting the system. The media played a huge part in Trump's rise. In the 2016 election, television networks, newspapers, and online platforms all covered him constantly. Sometimes it was because of the shocking things he said. Sometimes it was simply because he was good for ratings. Even if much of the coverage was negative, he stayed in the spotlight. Many Americans recognized his name and face more easily than the other Republican candidates. Trump understood how to use social media platforms like Twitter to speak directly to his followers. He knew how to create a strong emotional reaction. Some believe the media, by focusing so much on Trump, helped make him more popular. When Trump ran for president, he was running against many Republican candidates in the primary elections. These are internal party contests to choose one final candidate. These other candidates tried to argue with Trump to show his weaknesses. They talked about his lack of political experience and his dishonesty. But Trump defeated them one by one. He used nicknames to make them look weak, like Low Energy Jeb for Jeb Bush. He made fun of them on TV and in debates. Traditional politicians were confused. They had never seen this kind of political style. Voters were excited or horrified. But they could not look away. Eventually, Trump became the Republican Party's nominee. He faced Hillary Clinton, a Democrat with decades of political experience as a former First Lady, Senator, and Secretary of State. Many polls predicted Clinton would win. She was experienced, and the media and many Americans saw Trump as inexperienced and extreme. But Trump continued talking directly to voters who felt ignored. He said he would bring back jobs, fix the immigration system, take a tougher stance on trade with China, and put America first. He used cultural issues, fear of terrorism, and anger against political correctness to energize his base. Clinton tried to show Trump's lies, his lack of a clear plan, and his disrespect for various groups of people. But Trump's supporters did not trust Clinton. They saw her as part of a corrupt system. In November 2016, to the surprise of many around the world, Trump won the Electoral College vote, although he lost the popular vote by nearly 3 million votes. The U.S. president is not chosen by direct popular vote, but by a system of electoral votes from each state. Trump won in key states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin by very small margins. These states had many working-class voters who felt left behind by globalization and job losses. They decided to give Trump a chance, hoping he would change things in their favor. We also have to think about the global factors that led to Trump's rise. The world after the 2008 financial crisis was troubled. People lost trust in the government, in big business, and in the media. Movements in Europe and other places showed that voters were tired of the traditional political order. In many countries, politicians who promised change, who rejected the old establishment, became more popular. Trump fit into this global pattern of populist leaders who said they would put their country's people first, break old rules, and stand up to the elite. Globalization made some Americans richer, but others felt poorer and more insecure. These conditions helped Trump's message. Now, let's talk about the idea that Trump lies or manipulates people. Fact checkers, these are organizations and journalists who check if statements are true, said Trump lied or made false statements very often. He said things that were not supported by evidence, for example, stating that millions of people voted illegally against him. There no strong evidence supports this. Claiming he had the largest inauguration crowd size, photos and numbers did not support this. Saying he built the best economy ever in a way that ignored other factors or past historical periods. But to his supporters, these things often did not matter much. They felt that everyone in politics lies. They believed Trump was telling a kind of emotional truth, expressing feelings and frustrations they had. Or they simply didn't trust the media or the fact checkers. Trump often attacked the media, calling it fake news, so that his supporters would not believe criticisms. This is a way of controlling the narrative. If you can make your followers doubt the media, then you can say what you want, and they will trust you. His speeches were often full of simple phrases, strong emotions, and repetitive words. He might say, "They're laughing at us. We are going to win. Believe me," and "Make America great again." This style connected with some people at a personal level, but others saw this as manipulation. They said he wasn't giving facts or evidence, just strong feelings and promises. This made it hard to have a rational debate about policies. Let's pause and remember our language learners. It's important to understand that not everyone sees Trump the same way. On one side, you have people who admire him. They see him as a bold leader who fights against political correctness and global elites. They feel he says things that other politicians are too afraid to say. They respect that he tries to protect American interests and jobs. They believe he is a patriot who loves his country. On the other side, there are people who strongly dislike Trump. They see him as a liar, a bully, and someone who encourages hate against immigrants and minorities. They say he tries to divide the country by race, religion, and political views. They think he ignores scientific facts, and that his leadership style is dangerous for democracy. They believe he tried to make Americans doubt their own institutions, the press, the courts, fair elections, so that he can keep power. One reason that Trump's rise happened is because the United States is not one single kind of place. It's huge and diverse. People live in big cities, small towns, suburbs, farms. They have different experiences, different problems. In some places, people see globalization as great. More trade, more culture, more opportunities. In other places, people think globalization destroyed their local factories, took away their stable jobs, and left them feeling lost. Trump spoke to those feelings of loss and fear. America also has cultural divisions. Some Americans prefer a more traditional way of life. They value conservative morals, strong borders, and law and order. Others prefer a more progressive society. They want to fight racism, protect the environment, and allow immigration. Trump took a strong position on the conservative side, especially on issues like immigration, patriotism, and law enforcement. This made him a hero to some and a villain to others. From a language learning perspective, Trump's style of communication is interesting. He uses simple words. He does not often speak like a politician, with complicated sentences or detailed plans. Instead, he repeats key phrases. He says things are the best, the greatest, or a disaster, without many steps in between. This made his message clear and easy for some people to understand. But it also raised the question, is he being honest and precise, or just using big words to get an emotional response? Some people say Trump tries to create his own reality. He says what he wants to be true and expects people to believe it. When facts do not agree with what he says, he attacks the source of the facts. He might call the media fake news, or say that experts are stupid or biased. By doing this, he tries to create a world where his supporters only trust him and not other sources of information. This is a kind of manipulation, say his critics. After Trump won the presidency, many other countries watched closely. World leaders were unsure how he would behave. He criticized old alliances and long-term trading partners. He also met with leaders who were considered strongmen or authoritarian figures. Some felt he was changing America's position in the world. His supporters said this was necessary to protect American interests. His critics said it damaged America's reputation and made the world less stable. Let's now reflect on what led to his rise. So, to answer the question, how did he become president the first time? We have to consider many factors. 1. Personal brand and fame. He was already famous and had a strong brand name. 2. Economic anxiety. Many Americans felt left behind by globalization and the financial crisis. 3. Media attention. He received enormous media coverage, good and bad, which kept him in the spotlight. 4. Anti-establishment mood. People were tired of traditional politicians and wanted something different. 5. Emotional communication. He used simple, strong language that connected emotionally with some voters. 6. Lack of trust in institutions. Many people no longer trusted the media, experts, or government officials. Trump took advantage of this by casting doubt on them and presenting himself as an outsider telling the real truth. As English learners, one of the best things you can do is listen to different perspectives. Try to understand why some Americans love Trump. They might feel he protected their jobs, defended their culture, or made them proud to be American. Try to understand why others hate him. They might say he lied, encouraged hate, or threatened American democracy. When you talk to people about Trump, if you do, remember that this is a sensitive topic. Some people feel very emotional about it. They might get angry, or sad, or very passionate. Your job as a language learner and a curious person is to listen, ask questions, and learn to see the complexity. This will help you not only improve your English, but also understand more about human nature, politics, and society. Even after leaving office in January 2021, Trump remained influential in American politics. He had a strong base of supporters who believed he should still be in power. Some continued to believe in conspiracy theories that he had won the election in 2020, but was cheated. Others hoped he would run again. His style of politics, personality-driven, confrontational, skeptical of experts, did not disappear. It became a new force in American political life. Understanding Trump's rise is about understanding a moment in history, a time when facts, feelings, fears, hopes, and new media technologies all mixed together in a very unusual way. It tells us something about the changing world, the role of leaders, and the power of communication. So we've spent a lot of time talking about Trump, where he came from, his background as a businessman and media personality, his communication style, why some Americans supported him, why others opposed him, and the global and local factors that helped him win the presidency in 2016. We also discussed the idea that he often did not tell the truth, at least according to many fact checkers, and how he presented reality in a way that served his interests. You've heard about the deep divisions in American society that he both reflected and influenced. This is a complex topic, and I'm sure we haven't covered everything in just this time, but I hope I've given you a clearer picture. Remember, learning about Trump and American politics can help you understand the language of politics. Words like fact-checking, establishment, populist, globalization, fake news, and media narrative. These are useful terms to know if you want to follow world news in English. More importantly, try to keep an open mind. Politics is complicated because humans are complicated. People have different experiences, fears, and values. By listening carefully and trying to understand different perspectives, you can become not just a better English speaker, but also a more understanding global citizen. We've taken about an hour to explore this topic. That's a long time, and if you've made it this far, congratulations. It means you've practiced your English listening and comprehension skills with a very challenging subject. Give yourself credit for that. Thank you for spending this time with me here on English with Billy. In the next episodes, we will talk about other aspects of American life, culture, and human behavior. Some topics will be lighter, some might be equally complex, but we'll keep trying to break them down into understandable pieces, just like friends chatting. For now, I'll say goodbye. Keep practicing your English, keep asking questions, and keep exploring the world. I'm Billy, and I'll see you next time.